Hello and welcome to Chat Sith Get Banged, the Final Fantasy TCG show brought to you by Team Calamity. I am your host, Tom Tombo Hall, and today I'm joined by an all-Calamity affair. We have, as usual, the Judge Mitch Lander.
Hello. And
joining us again today, fresh from the first episode, it's Rich Mason. I don't have a name for you, Rich.
Thanks, mate. It is, on the tournament software, it is officially Ernie Pie, but...
the voice. That's what we call it.
The voice. Rich the Voice Mason.
Yeah, you might, if you're listening on headphones, you might need to turn the bass down a little bit when Rich talks. But otherwise, it's all good. So, this episode's been a little bit later than we wanted to release it, but we were going to talk about Worlds, because obviously we have a new world champion. So congratulations to Michiteru Yabuchi from Japan for crushing the competition at Worlds. How did we find Worlds, guys? Mitch, I know you watched a lot of it. Rich, I don't think you were able to watch quite as much as you wanted.
Not a second.
Oh,
I didn't watch a second of it.
Yeah, it was what's like watching like the same match over and over again. It was great. There's just so much wind water that it was just like you could literally watch the first game and then just repeat it over and over until like the only thing I will say is I can't remember his name. I want to say Haraguchi, but the one who used Unai and Citra, that was like genuinely a clever deck and loved watching that. But everything else was basically the same.
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, not interesting. I think we sort of knew that was going to happen. There was going to be a lot of wind water. I was maybe surprised about the amount of WAF, being a fairly new deck. But that was often a lot of people's second deck. I guess maybe just cheesing wins with sort of hasty aggression.
I don't know. I think a lot of hype was around that rain card because, as I said, it comes in free, does loads of ping damage. It was like whenever I was talking to people like about what cards they wanted, everyone seemed to want this new rain. So I didn't know it was going to be as like popular as it was, but I did have an inkling that at least a lot of people would try it.
Yeah, no, I was just surprised that they tried it at Worlds.
Yeah, that's my one takeaway from having spent a bit of time looking at the top 16 list is that I'm actually quite surprised how, kind of welcoming people were to the Opus 10 cards and like specifically new Opus 10 decks. So obviously there was a lot of people running the Rampier, Earth Lightning or Earth Lightning Ice or however they wanted to do it. And then a lot of people running WAF as well. And considering that the Opus 10 release was only sort of 2 weeks before Worlds actually happened, I was quite surprised that people were running what was essentially like entirely new decks at such a major tournament so quickly with such little sort of like playtime between release and the tournament.
I thought Mitch was going to come in there.
That's fucking tumbleweed, mate.
I completely agreed with you. But I was waiting for like clever Mitch to say something fancy.
No, I actually did agree as well. So I was just like, I'll wait for Tom to like say something. Okay.
That's good. The listeners can hear you both nodding in agreement.
Yeah. The podcast nod, always a good one. But yeah, decks aside, I did think that the actual tournament itself was really good this year, and there seemed to be a lot of buzz around it. I think last year we were really excited because obviously we had Peter from Team Calamity was at World, so we had sort of a vested interest to sort of be overexcited about it. But this time we didn't, we know some of the players going, but I just felt there was a bit of a buzz around it. The stream was really, heavily featured. There was lots of people watching the stream every time I went on it. It just seemed to be like more, once you get past the wind water matchup, it was like really enjoyable to sort of watch and sort of follow along.
Yeah, that was one thing I would take from it. It was very like streamlined as well. There wasn't much like just. I mean, I know there was like the waiting around for everything like that, but they even had like adverts during it, and it was like it looked like it'd been actually prepared for this time instead of just have the stream on and just be like, we will be back whenever. Like, yeah, you can sit there and wait, sort of thing.
That's been a problem in like previous tournaments, and that's why I'm not a big, sort of I'm not a big fan of watching streams and stuff on that is because it's almost as if the viewership of people watching the stream isn't really taken into account with how things are run, and therefore you can be sat there for 30 minutes, 40 minutes just looking at Cloud on his bike, bust a sword over his shoulder with fuck all else happening on screen, and I don't have time for that. So
But no, I think they put extra effort into that. I thought the commentary team was really good this year, and like they did lots. It wasn't just commentate on a match and then interview the winner. They were doing lots of extra stuff, and like you said, when there was some downtime, they were doing things just talking about decks, or I think remember during the draft section. So whilst everyone was off drafting decks, they got someone who hadn't made the top cut for draft and called him in, and he was talking through like good drafting in Opus 10 and stuff. So it was really interesting and really nice to see. I still think they could take it another step next year. There's a lot more there I think they could do. I don't know how hard it is to do it, but I always thought why not have like someone going around the room in between games, just walk around the room, see what it's like, talk to people, go into the friends and family bit. So just little things like that just to sort of break it up. But maybe maybe there's plans for that as sort of the championships grow in stature over the years. The prizing also got done up a little bit. As usual, I think there's a few cynical comments that there would be like surprise prizes come up, and there were. They were pretty cool though, like the signed cards. Was it like a first print edition of Final Fantasy VII or something like that? So.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. That was actually like crazy.
Yeah, amazing. I'm sure they had it planned before, so hopefully it wasn't like a knee jerk to people slagging off some of the prizing. So I'm sure it was already lined up the sleeve. So it just goes to show, hold back before you just slaughter everything when you first see it. And then in terms of the winners, I was happy to see Japan take the win. Is this only the third World Championships, right?
Yeah.
We've had the first winner was Europe.
Yeah, it was Toby and then Alex.
Yeah, so it's nice to see it sort of move around the regions. And I always really enjoy seeing stuff from the Japan tournaments throughout the year. So I seem to find like the sort of spicy innovations always tend to come from Japan, and that's the sort of stuff that interests me. So it's nice to see them take it. And I guess for the wider community, it's nice to see sort of the EU, sort of UK side finally get defeated and sort of move it around. So I know some people getting a bit grinded down by the sort of EU snobs, for want of a better word, sort of dominating and puffing their chest out too much. So yeah, see them get slapped down. That's good for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I'm very happy that someone else other than Europe won, just because like I do feel like there's a sort of, without lack of a better word, sort of arrogance that's come in recently, and just like with like one of the best region, and I genuinely don't think we are. Especially when you see like Japan's decks, they're so more creative than we are. We, like as I said, we can play the meta decks well, like Wind, Water, and everything like that. We can play them well. We are probably one of the better regions for that, but we're not very good at creating our own meta. Like there are a few people who can build. I'm not going to just rule out everyone, but as I said, generally Japan is just so creative when it comes to their decks.
I mean, I think it seems that each region now has its own sort of defined way of playing, and Japan plays it very differently to sort of the rest of the world. Like I said, sort of in terms of like an innovation and creativity. I think with EU, sort of UK side, they tend to focus on the sort of consistency and value. So it's like, 9 times out of 10, consistency and value will beat most decks, which is why we see stuff like Wind, Water just coming up all the time. And then you've got America, and it seems to feel with America, they always have like really interesting sort of American competitions where you see lots of different types of decks, lots of variety. And then when it comes to like a Worlds, they tend to try and sort of counter tech. I don't know if that's been seen. So like they will sort of make the bold calls to go for something a bit different to sort of try and outplay what is going to be the meta. And then you've got sort of the sort of Australia, New Zealand, so Chris Matiski. I mean, he always creates really cool new stuff as well. So it's a bit disappointing to see him sort of grind down on the Wind, Water. His deck B was pretty cool. Sort of again, it was a multicolour Rampierre one, but he opted for a bit of fire as well, rather than the ice side. So Anything else to add on that? And I guess we wanted to also shout out to second place. So Masayuki Yamada, he came second and didn't run Wind Water. So fair play. His deck B was awesome as well, which was the Earth Wind with the forward Chantotto, just sort of trying to slap down all the Wind Water Phenas and all that crap. And that was wicked to see it be rewarded. And second place. It's a shame to see him fall at the last, but
yeah, I also think that card was like a tech against WoF, because if you just slap that down and then they go ham with all like the rain and everything like that, when a WoF swings, it has to choose that Shantotto, and then it will do 4k, and then Shantotto obviously do 4k AoE, and it was just remove the range from the game. And interesting enough that I saw one WoF player, I can't remember who it was, actually run Lebro, and I think it might have even been for that reason, which was really interesting that like Japan's own meta had made its way to Worlds.
The only other things I've got left to say about Worlds is, I know you've already mentioned it with Yamada, but shout out to Yamada, Kyle Peters, and Andrea DeLuca as the 3 people that made top 16 not playing Wind Water. You are the real MVPs of Worlds, and in my opinion, you guys should be the top 3. And the other thing, I'm not sure if anyone else has picked up on this, and maybe it's just me, but having looked at a lot of the Wind Water decks, like there are a lot that are just absolutely card for card the same as one another. And I don't know how much of that is people just play testing and, landing on the same spot that this is the ideal number of this card, this is the ideal number of this card, or whether there was just like this mass collaboration of people with this pool of knowledge that they all went together and all kind of talk to each other. But if you look at the top 16 Wind Water decks, like there are a handful of them, maybe even, half of them are card for card, like the number of Citra you play, like identical to each other, which is, again, I was just going to quickly shout out Chris Matiske because he still has absolute balls of steel running that one drop white mage, because fuck Val Forfina.
Yeah, no, I think that came up a lot in the chats actually during the streams. I noticed a few people commented on that sort of side. I wouldn't call it an issue because obviously you can play whatever you want, but they were calling out testing partners, so like Rob Phillips and Alex. Sorry, not Alex, JFB. Obviously they're testing partners, so they had identical decks. Jamie Faulkner, I think, had been testing with Jason Z from Looks Things, so they had identical decks. And yeah, it's just, I think it's a bit weird. But yeah, it is what it is. I guess when you get to that top level, you need to take what you think is going to be the best deck in it,
Well, yeah, no,
it just narrowed down to the same people playing similar things, and like you said, they probably feel that is the optimum cards for that deck, and that's the one they want to run, so they are going to be the same. So
yeah, it wasn't like calling them out, like for shame, ring the bell, parade them through town naked kind of thing, but it was more of like a I'm very surprised to see it kind of thing, because I imagine that when it comes to Worlds, like people may have, maybe put testing partners on hold and more maybe try to work with people who weren't going to go to Worlds to have that more element of secrecy and gain competitive advantage. But I suppose it's really good for like the elite side of the gaming community that everyone can still be like super, super friendly, even on a very competitive stage. I was a little bit shocked, but it's like pleasantly shocked.
Because I mean, like Mitchell, you don't even share your list for a weekly Calamity. You're like, I ain't telling you that. And then if you'll like snipe for everyone else's list and then sort of slowly leak them out to the.
Yeah, I'll tell everyone your plays. It's going to be great.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the ultimate puppet master. He's pulling all the strings behind the scene, and he doesn't know that he's making other people beat other people on a weekly basis, so that he can cross his way to the top.
In fact, you remember the last season we ran a league at Team Calamity, so it ran for the whole Opus, and then at the final end of the league, there was like a top 8 playoff or something like that from the league, and then Mitch, you either didn't make it or you decided to judge. And so then the week before, everyone was asking Mitch for tips for what deck to run. And then when we got there, like 7 of us had the same mono lightning list. Because Mitch had been telling us all to play the same deck. Oh, you're absolute bellend.
Well, the funny thing is as well, I'd literally I wasn't even in the top 8 of the people in the tournament. I swear there's like 9 people in Calamity at the moment. And they would all come to me for advice, and I'm like, why have you come to me? I have lost to every single one of you. I don't know what I'm on about. And they all came to me, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, play Mono Lightning, here's a list. They all did it.
In fact, you even gave me your deck, didn't you?
Yeah.
For the cards.
Wow.
Yeah, but just I know what you're saying, Mitch. It's nice that everyone can still sort of collaborate. But just to say, if I ever make it to Worlds, and Mitchell, you also make it to Worlds, I'm going to completely fuck over your list. Like, yeah, great, let's both play it, and then you'll get there, and I'll have all the counters just to slap you down. But so we'll move on from Worlds unless there's anything else to add from either of you two.
No.
World it out. So the last really thing for the year in terms of, particularly for Europe, I guess for TCG wise, is the Winter Cup, which is it's this weekend coming up. So we're recording. This is Monday. We're recording. So Mitchell, you're going to the Winter Cup. I guess it's been billed as sort of a way to sort of relax and have an enjoyable sort of community get together tournament. How many people do you think are going to take Windwater saying that? And how many people are going to say, I'm not going to play Windwater, I'm going to ride the above and play Earth Lightning?
Well, they're completely different. So, yeah, they're not playing meta. Yeah. I think there's two types of people who are going to go to this tournament. The ones who want to do well in this first day, and then there's ones who, like, don't mind how they do in the first day, but then they want to go to the second day and have fun and do all this, like all these mini games and events. And if you want to go and do well in this the Winter Cup, then all power to you. But it is, as you said, meant to be a wind down. Just everyone chill out, have a bit of fun, play Kageyama, lose to Kageyama. It's going to be great fun.
Because I remember we had Michael Macmillan, YYT, from last episode, and he was talking about the Winter Cup. I'm just going to take a fun deck. I'm going to take he was talking about taking Old Marsh Paradise sort of deck. But I do think if you're watching the stream, it's going to be a lot of Wind, Water versus Earth, Lightning. So maybe day 2 they'll just cut away from the main tournament and focus on all the side events that are going on. So I think that is where all the fun is going to be and all the interesting stuff. And if you've not seen that, I think there's a 2v2 competition going on day 2. I think Kageyama and another one of the Hobby Japan team are going to team up and join in the competition. So that'd be super cool.
That's actually,
they want to win as well. I'm sure they were joking.
Yeah.
So that would be really cool.
That's actually the thing I want to enter the most. So I'm like, originally when I first got the ticket for Winter Cup, I was like, I want to do well in this tournament. It's last time of the year, like to do actually something. And then when I realised that there's a 2v2 and Kageyama's in it, I'm like, I think I'd rather just
you'll throw day 1, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's my excuse for when I bomb out, but it will be.
Mitch turns up with his pauper deck because he's all about day 2.
Yeah. There probably is a pauper event going on as well. There's loads of different events going on day 2. I mean, that's where the fun is going to be, and you can sort of leave all the sweaters to grind away at their Wind-Water matchup, and let everyone else have fun. I don't know if he's doing Gunslinger as well this year. Kageyama's doing a lot of Gunslinger throughout the year. I don't know if he because he's done the 2v2, he's going to stop that. But if he is there and he's doing Gunslinger, I would advise you to go and give him a challenge. It's worth the queue. I did it at the Dark Cup. He was playing it there, and it was so fun to play him. He's super chilled and he plays like fun meme decks and stuff. Don't take a meta deck to Gunslinger him. I don't think that proves anything. Take something fun and have a good fun game against him. And it's fun. He gives out like Japanese foils as well if you beat him, which is cool. So
Do we have any bold predictions about Winter Cup in terms of like performance or events or anything like that?
I mean, I don't know. Do we know how many of the sort of World Europe guys are going?
I think most of them are. See, it depends how it's going to be viewed. Like, if it's meant to be a little bit of fun, then I think we're going to get someone new who's topped, who just wanted to go there, do well, get his name out there, and just be like, yeah, I topped Winter Cup. Or, because I think a lot of people are just going to try new things and stuff like that. Like the list that we're taking was something that me and friend Azan made, and this was before it was actually even known about the meta, that it was going to be meta, and we were just having fun with the Shantotto, Rampierre, and all that bollocks, and then turns out it's top tier meta now, and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to play meta. I want to have some fun and just mess around. So I've been racking my brains to play a second deck, but I've put so much practice into the first one. I feel like I owe it to myself just to do that first day, get that out the way, and then go and have fun on the second day with a meme deck. So it depends how people view it, really.
So your bold prediction is that it will be not a no name. I don't want to sound horrible to our theoretical winner, but it won't be one of the big boys winning.
No, unless
it depends how they take it.
Yeah, it depends on how
they've just finished Worlds. Do they want to wind down and maybe not get involved in another big competitive thing? I don't know. Keep your badge as a World's top 16 or something.
Some of them
flapped up at a Winter Cup, and
some of them might be disappointed with how they did with Worlds and feel like they have to go and prove a point or something like that.
Yeah,
none of them feel should do, because obviously they got to Worlds and did well to get to Worlds, but some of them, that's not obviously in their heads is not good enough, so they will want to top a tournament, and it being the last tournament of the year, they might go there just being like, I need to prove a point, I want to win something. So it's all depends on how they interpret the event.
And they're going to have hundreds of people turning up with their decks as well.
Yeah.
So yes, you're going to obviously they're going to probably pilot it better in a mirror match or whatever, but ultimately the strength of those decks will carry a lot of people as well, so it will be very tough if it's that kind of event. So yeah, my bold prediction is Mitch Lander, Winter Cup champion, doesn't get to play scrubs through day 2, doesn't get to play any side events, and just sees himself carried through, and is the most
and I'm going to be the most depressed person ever because I'm not going to get to play Kageyama. I'm like, oh.
I've been envisioning Mitch intentionally trying to lose, but just keep winning.
He'll just chuck out these terrible bad plays, and it will completely throw their opponent.
I'm going to swing with 3k, and then they're going to be have a 9k, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm not blocking that. Whatever you've got, I don't believe you.
But yeah. We've got a lot of Team Calamities going to this, actually. Quite a few members of the Team Calamity are going, so I guess we should back them. We're going to go involved. So good luck, Team Calamity. I don't know who's going to win. We'll see.
I'm just going to quickly throw my spicy and somewhat controversial bold prediction out there, and that is that there's going to be another gender-specific side event that's going to lead to an absolute Facebook shitstorm the day after.
There's no chance I think they'll ever revisit that. And what
King of Queens tournament.
There's been zero controversy over the last, particularly the lead up to Worlds and with the Worlds. So we're due something massive. So there's that guy who trolls on Twitter. Is it the shit post or something? FFTCG, and he posted today, he's like, I'm still alive, it's just nothing's going on. So do your business. Serve up. Everyone needs something to talk about. So please serve up your worst. I want to see something like tables flipping or some shit like that. For everyone who's not going.
I'll try and start a fire from afar.
Don't, because I'm going to have to go into that fire.
No, you'll be the first out.
I will be the controversy.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, on that note, we'll move on, I think, to some of our sort of more regular features. So we'll go to the Ronso Rage. Rich, you were on our very first episode all those many years ago. And now you're back and you're going to lead our Ronso Rage. So you've had a long time to brew on something. So I'm expecting you to go sort of full tilt here. What is it you would like to serve up for the Ronso Rage this time?
I mean, just before I start, I just want to go back and address how badly my previous Ronso Rage has aged, to the point where Final Fantasy VIII now has really good cards and they don't all have the same name, and it's actually an okay deck now. Whereas I fully was flipping the table over it 18 months ago when we first recorded it. I was fully prepared to start penning letters to Kageyama.
He listens to this.
So Rage. People listen. Take note.
He's our one subscriber. It's Kageyama. He's he's got his ear to the ground. He wants to hear what the people have to say. He listened. He fixed shit. So slow clap for him.
I believe Box Topper School was in direct response to the Ronso Rage. Believe.
It's got my signature on there somewhere if you look real hard.
So yeah, you're really bigging this up now. So I'm expecting some kind of like meta-defining rage shift here. So what have you served up for us?
I don't know if it's just me that feels like this, but I feel like Earth has a bit too much speed for what it should, considering that the identity of the element is supposed to be like this rugged, like somewhat defensive, slower control play kind of deck, and it just seems that it hits 5 backups with all these kind of pseudo 2-drops a lot faster than other decks do. And I find it really, really frustrating to play against. And it's worse when it's Earth Wind because you have the whole Shantato, Camlanort, Chaos kind of loop that, helps you establish boards very quick. But, just to go through like the pseudo 2-drops, or I mean, even like in terms of fast ramp, you've got the Sid Garland, you've got Miner, you've got Minfili, you've got Aparuru. Like these are all just like stupidly value cards when you find them in the order in which you want to find them. And Star Sybil is the key problem with that because it helps you find those cards. And it does my fucking head in. Like I'm so tired of just playing against. Like I'm a big Ice Wind, a big Ice Lightning player, and there is just absolutely no tempo in how you ramp in Ice Lightning beyond using Mog 13 to search a category 13. Like everything else just feels slow and very, very conditional. And if you make it to 5 backups without being horrifically behind, it feels like a massive kind of achievement. Whereas Earth literally just can autopilot it. It doesn't matter what they discard for their backups as well, because they have so many different ways to toolbox their break zone. So it doesn't matter what I discard for the miner, I can miner it back later. I can hit a Coup Sith and the X-Burst and go fetch it out. Like nothing matters over any of the decisions that Earth make, because they have so much compensation and so much value in the way in which they do it that, nothing matters. Whereas Ice Lightning, it feels like if I draw 2 null and I have to discard them to play backups, like that's it, game's fucked. Like might as well scoop now. But I don't know if that's just me.
Well,
I mean, let's just note there were no Mono Earth in the top 16 worlds, or actually at Worlds at all. So I do know what you're saying. Yeah. The ramp is key in this game, right?
Yeah. To be fair, Sybil, like especially Sybil, has been prominent since Opus 5 when it came out. I can't think of a time that it hasn't been. Like we went through the Dadaluma phase. Even Earthwind was playable after all it got banned, and then now we're back to Rampier and stuff like that. It's just never left. It might even just be like the characters, like Earth does have recursion with like Miner and everything like that, which is, I think, part of its element, like part of its identity, as you said. But this searching is what's making it very strong. You can search like with Star Sybil, get back everything that you've ditched with Miner and everything like that. I don't mind the actual recursion. It's the actual searching. You get so much out of it. With Sybil EX, you get Sid Garland, is it?
Yeah.
You've even got like Gabranth now, which searches like 5-drop. So like it seems very generic searches. Like one's a 14, one's a 5 cost or higher, one's an 11.
You can chuck that out the window because they've got Kolka, which is search any Earth forward. So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, like as I said, it's just got so much search as well as recursion. So I don't know. Maybe that.
Do you understand the angle of my frustration is that fire is supposed to be like this somewhat fast and aggressive element, and it took him like 4 opus to give us just any tutor, and it was Selfie, which searched for all of about 2 cards.
And one of them wasn't even fire. Yeah.
I mean, I feel partly responsible for this because I think this came about. I highlighted it because I was playing the Mono Earth Prish deck a few weeks ago, and then I was playing the Carbuncle back attack. So I'd go second, Carbuncle, then you miner, banger, your turn 1. You efficiently got 3 backups and like 6 cards in hand, and then you slap down a Sid Garland, so you're at 4 backups in like one turn, and Rich was just like, losing the will to live opposite. And it feels amazing when you're sat on the other side, but I can understand. Yeah, it's a bit shitty.
But imagine scrapping that game. Like, that was an absolute bloodbath, and I think in the end I managed to lose 7-5, which I actually counted in my head as a philosophical win. But then to pick up your deck and you go over to your next opponent and it's Ben playing fucking Mono Earth Monks, and I'm just like, I can't deal with this, man. This is round 1 and 2 of weekly OP. Like, I'm just gonna scoop and go to McDonald's or something.
I mean, the only thing you'd lose with it is that your backup line is pretty much there just to build backups. So you lose some of the more sort of damaging backup stuff, but I don't think it really matters because you get so much out of it. And the most Miner's got the built-in recursion. Sid Garland has recursion as well.
Yeah, this is my point. Nothing
really
matters.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
The problem with those cards that you've just listed is they all break for something.
Yeah.
So Sybil breaks for something, Miner breaks for something, Garland breaks for something. It's just all you can play your cards early, get stuff back, and then you're like, well, this Star Sybil, I want to play another one, break it. Don't even need to play it forward really, because in Earthwind you're still searching, you're still getting stuff, but you can literally do that and get so much value out of it. I can see why Rich is annoyed at it, to be fair.
I'm surprised you can, because as someone who's playing a Rampier deck at the moment, you're in prime position to just abuse the shit out of it.
Absolutely. I'm loving life playing Earth. I just see that it's that's the reason we were playing it, is because it's so, as we were saying earlier, Europeans love the consistency, and it is very consistent.
Well, I get the feeling that a couple of months of Rampier, if it hangs about in Opus 11, you could be looking at a ban for Star Sybil. There you go. Bold prediction for 2020. 2 for 1. I'll throw that out there.
Kageyama, if you are listening, please don't. I like this deck.
It's on my Christmas wish list. I'll see if Santa can send him an email.
So how would you fix it? Star Sybil is get rid of Star Sybil, or would you just get rid of everything else? Get rid of mine. Just ban Earth backups.
I would either bring everything else up to par. In terms of the functionality of the searches, being able to search from deck, from break zone, and just making it all as viable as it is in Earth, or bring out the ban hammer and kneecap Star Sybil, the cute little Tara knees, and see if that makes any difference at all. But
people just play Wind, because Wind you can search backups. A backup that searches a backup is like gold in this game, and at the moment there's only really Earth can do it. Can Earth do it? Yeah, Earth can do it. Wind can do
it. This is why Wind is different, is because when Wind has to ramp backups that way, it does matter what they discard, because they cannot toolbox their break zone. There is nothing within Mono Wind, unless you're going to throw some Reagan in there. There is no way of bringing stuff back from your break zone when you need it to play it on field, and that's what Earth has. And that's why I think it's bullshit. Even when I was playing Mono Wind back in Opus 7, Opus 8, when Yuri Chalinka came out, I felt like Earth ramped backups better than me. Even when I had Norstalin. And for me, that just felt horrifically unfair, considering the identity of Wind is supposed to be this very, very fast and very efficient value element. And I felt that I was getting outvalued by Earth, which is supposed to be a slower.
I can see that. I mean, I'm just sitting here going through all the cards. I'm thinking ones that can search backups. So you've got Fire can do it. Ice can't do it, I don't think. Is there a backup that searches a backup? Wind has it.
What are you counting for Fire? Because if you say Dominion Legionary, we might as well just end this podcast now.
I mean, it's a great card. You draw it, and then you've got 2 backups first turn. Fantastic. I'm ready for the game. Forget everything else. I've won.
There we go, mate. Play that at Winter Cup. We'll see how that works out.
I'm sorted now.
And it's got effects as well to break it. It does sit in that minor category because you can give an attacking forward 1,000 power.
It's not as
Brilliant.
good as mine.
That's
It's not as good as mine. I'm not going to have that on the podcast.
So, I mean, as the host, I'm going to step in here and say, if you're using Dominion Legionary as an excuse for why Earth and Wind Rampant is not unfair, the game has got a problem.
straw man argument.
Yeah, I might need to take back my bold prediction of Mitch Lander for Winter Cup. Okay, so I think you've made your points clear, Rich, and I think the problem that you've got is that to fix this, you can ban Star Silver. I don't think it's going to fix most of the problem, because you've still got so much in there. So your answer really is you're going to have to completely nerf Earth.
Nerf Earth.
For one of a hashtag prime. I just can't see it happening. I think the better way to do it is to try and bring other elements up to level. I think you wouldn't have so much of a problem if, fire could do similar things, or ice could do similar things. I mean, lightning's okay. It's in a good place for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, lightning's got a shit ton of searches, so they're okay, and water has a shit ton of searches.
Well, lightning's
so
got
they're kind of okay.
What's that? Is it Sage, the lightning backup, Mitch? The Forge one where you get a character back. That's kind of like a faux minor, just doesn't have the break ability.
Yeah, but
that's all right.
Sage is something that you put in a deck because you're thinking of all of these like amazing combos and things you can do in the middle to late game, and it always just ends up being a fucking turn 1 2-drop backup.
But yeah, I think bring everything else up to level. I think the argument will fade somewhat, and also Mono Earth isn't really, dominating. Really, there's much bigger issues in the game. So I'm gonna say I understand your rage, but I think you can just sort of live with it for now. Not worry too much.
I've said I was like 90% sure that it was just a personal grievance, but you don't know these things until you shout them at other people in Skype. So
they just cower and agree.
But, no, I think you seem to be feeling it most personally. I think generally it's not being highlighted as much because everything else is, wind, water, etc., is dominating so much. So it's
wind, water is the villain at the moment.
It's clouded. Once you get rid of that, Earth, Wind will come back. We talked about Yamada earlier to second place. He was running Wind, Earth. I think Alex was as well, wasn't he?
Ice Earth.
Ice Earth. I remember him talking about he was potentially going to run Earth, Wind. I think he was running like a Varn one, wasn't he? Before Worlds. So, once Wind, Water gets knocked off, we'll probably see Earth, Wind come back, and then this will all come to a head again. So maybe, Rich, you're always a bit ahead of the curve. Maybe you're right on this one.
I mean, 2 or 3 opuses ahead of the curve.
I was so wrong about the Final Fantasy VIII thing, though, so I wouldn't go, chalking me up next to Nostradamus just yet.
Right, so we'll move on to our next segment, which is we've sort of gone counterclockwise here because this is the Haste takes. So this is where we give each of our guests a topic. You have 30 seconds to voice your argument or your spiel on it before you're ruthlessly cut off. Well, it's never that ruthless, actually. And actually, there's a bit of a world's flavour to this week's Haste takes. We probably should have done this before the Ronso Rage, but never mind. I'm getting my stopwatch ready. Who would like to go first?
Mitch, you can go first.
All right.
Okay. Right, Mitch, you're... I've got all my notes on one thing and the stopwatch app on another. You get 2 seconds before I say go for things. So, Mitch, so first question.
Wait, Rich or Mitch?
You.
Me, okay.
So, Worlds was actually a best of one, once both players had lost to Wind's Water. Discuss.
I mean, I feel like it was, you had Wind, Water, and then that was it. You brought your actual deck that you thought of yourself. I mean, a lot of people brought Waff, but it was still more interesting than the same Wind, Water, Valfor, Fina, Horum sometimes, Pain, Yuna, Riku. I could pretty much just name the list of most of the decks. It's very repetitive. That was 30 seconds.
15 seconds left.
That was 30 seconds.
I had you at like 24. Are you all timing still?
I was timing myself.
Actually, Rich, you're not meant to time, but Rich always times because.
I'm not timing. I'm not timing this time.
Oh,
okay, Rich, over to you. How long until they ban Valve for?
By the end of Opus 11, I think they're going to give it a little bit of time to equalize and see if there's anything this set, because obviously there's stuff that's just been released and they're going to want to have a look at that first. But I imagine that it will be by the end of Opus 11 that if it's still just hanging around in the top 8 of tournaments, that they'll essentially just ban Valve 4 and see what effects that has, which I think just takes the kneecaps out of Windwater completely. So we'll see what happens. But I think, end of Opus 11.
Oop.
Before Winter Cup, please.
Before Winter Cup, no chance. Could you imagine Thursday night? Thursday night. I was thinking this the other day. Actually, I was going to mock up like the FFTCG main site. I was going to mock up like a fake announcement and then like send it to like the Team Calamity like Facebook.
Just watch
like,
the world burn.
Like on the Thursday as they're all travelling up on the Friday morning, and just to see how much of them sweat. But one, I don't think I have the skills to do it. But two, I've just revealed my prank. So that would be class.
Just release this episode on the Saturday and we'll be golden.
Yeah. Okay, who's next? Mitch. So Mitch, 22 out of 30 players at Worlds ran Windwater. What were the other 8 thinking?
They obviously didn't get the memo. I mean, like, I'll congratulate them on having some like sort of brain cells and thinking of their own deck, but Windwater was very strong, even if it was boring. So, were they all Japanese and American people who didn't do it? I don't actually know, but I'm going to imagine they are because everyone in Europe. It's going to sound horrible, but it's boring.
You hit 30 seconds.
Okay. I wish the 30 seconds came before I finished that sentence.
Oh, yeah, the podcast is saved. Okay, Rich, I think we might have answered this earlier, but if you go to the Winter Cup and run Windwater, what kind of person are you?
I think they'd probably just ban you on the door. Like, you'll hand in your deck list, they'll take one look at it, and then they'll press a button, trapdoors will open, and you'll fall into a spike pit below. And we'll slowly start to cull the Windwater players out of the gene pool, and then us superior, meme lords will slowly come in with our Fire Lightning FF14 decks and take over the world.
There could be like a separate room, couldn't there? So if you hand in your deck list and they go, yes, please come to the tournament, and they just send you into like a separate hall and just have your own little
Sarlacc pit for the Windwater players. That's probably the nerdiest joke I've ever made. I'm so proud of myself.
Okay, Mitch, as you know, Riku has been banned, ideally to hit Windwater, and now there are calls for Valve 4 to be banned. What will it take for the big wigs at Square to just ban Wind?
Yeah, I mean, there could just be an argument for that because Wind's been like, it's Kageyama's favourite element, so he's obviously given it preferential treatment. I'm sick of it. I don't even like green. To be fair, it's just not a good colour. So you could literally make it up with earth and water. Then just if you want to make it like green deck, go that, or play magic. If you want to play green, play magic. Done.
That's done. You know what I really hate? I was just saying, I hate it when people call it like red and green and don't say like fire and wind.
Yeah, so, I do as well.
Yeah, that sucks. Rich, I think thank goodness this is the last one on my list. So if everyone just played Minwoo for the next 3 months, could we eradicate Windwater?
No, because they'll take against it and just run 3 Archer, 3 Ninja. They'll just be like fully prepared for Minwoos. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm fairly sure that Minwoo isn't the answer. There we go, 10 seconds.
What is the answer? Bonus.
Help me, I'm going to say Aerith, but I get the feeling that if Legend Aerith takes off, people will just start running one-drop Cooch. So, again, like, Wind Water has all the answers, and that's why it's at the top, is because it can just kind of deal with everything that counters it. So, yeah, other than one-drop White Mage, shout out Chris Matiske. There we go.
And basically, we're fucked until they ban stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it can also handle White Mage now because it runs Ash and it just turns off its abilities and kills it.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Ash. Scrap Legend Aerith, it's out the window.
Which are you talking about? Forward Aerith? Yeah, that's gone.
Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's the Legend backup, isn't there? Well, that's the end of the Haste takes. First person to comment if they worked out the secret theme to Haste takes this week gets a foil G Diver.
Oh, I love it. The Team Calamity spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Can we sign it all? Can we sign it all for them?
Do they want it signed? I think so. When Mitchell
just create a video of just them dropping it in the bin.
when Mitchell wins a cup, he will sign your G Diver.
There we go. Bit of fame to drive the value up. There we go.
Cool. Right, we're on to our last topic of today, which is, as usual, we always finish with our Cosmo memory. And again, in light of the world's theme, we've gone for the forward Shantotto. So this is we thought it was Opus 4, didn't we?
Yeah, it was Opus 4.
I better bring it up.
I was going to say, are we sure about this? Because I get the feeling it was Opus, the same one as Raiden, or however you want to say it.
Opus 4.
Oh, it is Opus 4. Oh, okay.
Which is an Opus 4 legend. Fixed cost. And so when Shantotto is dealt damage, you deal the same amount of damage to all of the forwards other than Shantotto. And if they die, they get removed from game. And it's got a colossal Shantotto special, which deals 5,000 damage to all forwards, obviously including the Shantotto itself. So it does like a 10k slap back unless you're playing Wind Water with the Aerith, in which case everyone probably survives anyway. So what do we think of Shantotto? The reason we pulled this in with the world things, obviously Yamada in second place was running this in his Earth Wind deck, as you said, to sort of a counter to the Waft, but I think as well as a counter to the Wind Water, like the Fina Valfor stuff. A card I've always really liked. What do we think of forward Shantotto? Should it get a bit more rep?
Who's that to?
I don't know. Mitch can take the lead on this.
Not Mitch, because you know how he feels about Earth. So
Dark Symbol target triggered.
See, I've gone. I've always liked the card. It's just the backup, the 7-drop has always been better. Now I would say that it's sort of actually been taken off the perch of being the best Shantotto. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say that the 9-drop one is the best one, because obviously time will tell. It could just be that this Rampier deck is the thing that's keeping it like strong. But it's nice to see that there are there are other Shantottos that people are willing to try, especially now that WoF is a thing. That this Shantotto can actually be played, and I don't know, I do love the card, because I also love how much I always like cards that when they're dropped and your opponent's not prepared for them, you can see that in their face, oh shit, how do I deal with this card? I mean, that's sort of died down a bit now, since with Diabolos, but it's still if you're not playing Wind, it has that oh shit factor, because I'm just rambling here for shits and giggles. Can you someone speak?
Well, no, just to go back to your point of you saying that you drop a card and your opponent goes, oh shit, I don't know how to deal with this. You're like, oh, it's calming down a bit now, and I'm like, oh, Fail Thanos has something to say about that.
Yeah, well, Arden did the same. A lot of the time it was just, oh, this card is going to come in. I can't swing because this card is going to kill all of my board and remove it from the game. I'm not going to get any effects out of it. I need to kill this some way. And I always find that Earth seems to get these sort of forwards. Like this set, fair enough, Lightning got it, and Thanos, but generally Earth gets these sort of big things that sort of really affect the board and change the way your opponent has to like play around it. And I do love those cards. The only problem was it was called Shantotto in a time that the backup was so good.
Yeah, I mean the backup's always been good. I think it's now getting to a point where it's easier to move away from the backup and try new things. I always say to you, Mitchell, every time you show me one of your new decks and it's an Earth list. In fact, you showed me one today which had Earth in it, and you had your staple 2 backup Shantottos. And I was like, play this backup instead. And you're like, no, because I've got no space because of the Shantotto. And I was always say to you, like, Shantotto is just for like pussies. You're basically saying my deck's too shit to cope with stuff, so I'll just put Shantotto in. So just stop playing it and do new things.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with the backup Shantotto. That's just my meme deck versus Kageyama, and I just don't want to lose like within the first few minutes where he just destroys me instantly. So I just that was a safety net, and that's what the card actually was. It's just a safety net. But when this card came out, everyone just immediately dismissed it because of that safety net that Earth had. Now Earth doesn't need that safety net. Other Shantottos can come forward, and as I said, there are so many good ones, especially this one in Earth as well, where you've got cards like Hecaton, Yojimbo, and all of them sort of things. It's very strong, and as I say, can just take over a game sometimes.
That was really my only contribution to this conversation. It was about Shantotto, is that it literally, like, it goes hand in hand with Citra so well. So Citra being the free drop 7k light forward allows you to get a break, a summon or monster from break zone. So you can fetch the Hecatons that you want, or if there's lethal damage you don't want to take, okay, I've fetched the Mist Dragon. Like, being able to get the summons that get those big effects that are going to get board clears and stuff like that. I feel like that added a lot to the playability of Shantotto. That's it. That's all I got.
I mean, yeah, I would say it's a card I've always really liked it. It's mainly because I had 3 of them and I never had any of the Opus 1 Shantottos for the longest of time. So I only sort of fairly recently got some of them. So I was always willing to like play this, and I quite like the idea of everyone running the backup Shantotto, and I'd be like, no, I'm sort of the superior player with this one. But yeah,
I'm a man of culture.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is, as with all things sort of fun or spicy in this game, is that when predominantly you come up against things like Wind Water or Windex, it just goes, before you can do anything, Shantotto is gone, and you're sort of always led into a way that you've got to play that out just for it to die, and then you've sort of lost the game because all your spicy techs go out the window. And so yeah, the game is unfortunately very brutal on meme players unless you are surrounded by other like-minded people, which is why stuff like this doesn't really get to come about too much.
Yeah, I do agree sometimes, but I do think that people should experiment more. I know I always say this, that people should experiment more, but there are decks out there that haven't been found that are probably better than what we've got. I feel like this set was sort of, we were like shoved in the right direction. It's like, here's Rampierre. It brings in 11 force for free. Hint, hint. Look at this new Shantotto. And the same with WOF and stuff like that. But I feel like there are other decks out there that aren't being tested, but are just as strong.
Yeah, I feel like we say this every podcast.
I'd love to say this.
I think it goes back to the when we congratulated Japan for winning, because usually they're the ones who do things differently. So we've kind of got full circle. But again, we'll call to arms for the 5 people that listen to this podcast who are probably already playing experimental stuff, because everyone else will listen to the Crystal Tower or whatever. But keep going, guys. We believe in you. Mitch will show you. I know, Mitch, you're playing Lightning, aren't you, at the Winter Cup? I was going to say Mitch will show you the light, but he won't, because he's playing a grubby metal deck, which he is somehow trying to convince us was his own creation. But yeah, actually, I will mention that. It's so funny because I remember just before the Opus came out, and you and Aslan were talking about the Earth Lightning thing, and then it was on the build up to Worlds, obviously, and then there was word got through because sort of Peter, our friend Peter from Team Gaz, he often goes up and sort of plays with some of the Darksphere lot, and he started saying about how they were playing this Earth Lightning deck, and we were just like, "I'm sorry, Mitchell, but you're great."
The worst one
for Worlds.
The worst
he's
one.
the shepherd, but he's really the sheep.
Yeah, I am. The worst one was on Facebook. YYT put out literally word for word. It was the worst kept secret Rampierre deck, and I'm like, hit like at work, just in near tears. I was like, I thought I was unique.
Remember, you come up with the mythic idea as well, where you break the Rampierre.
Yeah.
And then in the morning there's a YYT deck tech, and it's like it's the key. So the pain of trying to come up with something new, and then
Yeah.
It's depressing. It's a depressing one. So if on that note, we'll call an end to the podcast, and our farewell message will be: enjoy Windwater for as long as you can, win games and stuff, because once it's banned, the meme players are coming for you.
And if any of the 5 fans are attending Winter Cup, feel free to come and say hello to us. We're quite horrible, but we won't be horrible to you.
Yeah, so the most approachable ones being Rich, we're not going.
We're not going.
Don't blame you if you don't go and speak to anyone. But yes, that said, there is a lot of Team Calamity there. We don't have any. Actually, some of you do have like a hoodie, don't you? It says Team Calamity on it.
Yeah, I've got to dig it out. I'm
probably
too fat for it for now.
We don't try and buy fans by like giving out free stuff. Just come and say hello, and so we'll pretend we're not really dicks and spread some Team Calamity love. So yeah, if you see them, also you can always check us out on YouTube, which is Team Calamity FFTCG. It's been a little bit quiet recently. We put our gameplay videos up there, and we've got the meme versus meta, which is sort of our main features. But it's been a bit quiet, I think, because people are holding on to their text for the Winter Cup. So hopefully after the Winter Cup dies down, we'll get meme versus meta going back up on there. So with that said, thank you very much for listening, and until next time, see you later.